Welcome back, everyone. You're watching World Trender. The world witnessed a major digital disruption today, one that didn't just affect a single company, but shook the very foundation of global cloud infrastructure. Microsoft, one of the biggest technology providers on the planet, faced a widespread outage in its cloud platform, Microsoft Azure. The impact wasn't limited to one product. This outage rippled across Microsoft's entire ecosystem, affecting Microsoft 365, Outlook, Teams, Xbox Live, Minecraft servers, and even large American retailers and airlines that depend heavily on Microsoft's cloud. Everything was running normally until users suddenly began reporting that their Outlook emails weren't loading, Teams wouldn't connect, and Microsoft 365 documents refused to open. Within minutes, social media platforms and outage tracking websites like Down Detector began to flood with reports. Thousands of users across the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Europe were all facing the same issue. Microsoft's servers were simply not responding. Soon after, Microsoft acknowledged the situation through its official status page. The company confirmed that its engineering teams were aware of the problem and were actively investigating. However, what initially appeared to be a small glitch quickly turned out to be a massive failure across the company's global network. Azure isn't just any service. It's the backbone that powers not only Microsoft's own products, but also thousands of third-party businesses around the world. When Azure goes down, it's not just Microsoft that suffers. It's the entire digital world that feels the shockwave. This wasn't the first time Microsoft faced an outage, but this one stood out because of its sheer scale. According to reports, the disruption began around 12 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. But it wasn't just North America that felt the impact. Users from the Asia-Pacific region, the Middle East, and Europe also experienced widespread connectivity problems. This was a truly global outage, one that originated from a critical fault in Azure's front door service and its domain name system, DNS configurations. A senior Microsoft engineer later revealed that the issue began with a configuration change meant to improve system performance. That single change inadvertently created an internal loop within the core routing layer of Azure. This loop caused congestion across the network's traffic management systems, eventually overwhelming load balancers and DNS servers, which started rejecting user requests. Microsoft's data centers are known for their redundancy and failover systems, but this time, the issue was so central, so deep in the configuration layer, that backup systems couldn't immediately take over. As the outage spread, social media lit up with reactions. The hashtag Microsoft Down quickly became one of the top trending topics on X, formerly Twitter. Frustrated users shared memes and complaints. One user joked, "Microsoft 365 just gave me a free day off," while another wrote, "Even tech giants need a nap." But for businesses, the situation was anything but funny. In the United States, major retailers such as Starbucks, Costco, and Kroger reported temporary disruptions in their operations. Their payment systems and internal dashboards, which rely on Azure's cloud connectivity, slowed down or stopped functioning altogether. Airlines, including Alaska Airlines, informed customers that their websites and mobile apps were down, advising travelers to use alternate methods to check flight statuses and bookings. Behind the scenes, Microsoft's emergency response teams scrambled to contain the crisis. The first step was to initiate traffic rerouting and roll back the faulty DNS configuration. This process took nearly 2 hours, during which millions of users continued to face downtime. Gradually, services began to stabilize, but by then, the damage had already been done. For office workers who rely on Microsoft 365 every day, for their emails, Excel reports, PowerPoint decks, and Teams meetings, the outage turned an ordinary workday into chaos. IT experts across the globe began weighing in, calling this incident a wake-up call for the tech industry. They pointed out that the world has become dangerously dependent on a few major cloud providers. Today, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud form the backbone of almost everything online, from banking and healthcare systems to entertainment, gaming, and even government services. If one of these pillars falls, the ripple effects spread across the entire internet. Hours after the outage began, Microsoft released an official statement. We identified a misconfiguration in our Azure front door service that led to intermittent connectivity issues across multiple regions. Our teams immediately initiated mitigation, and the majority of impacted services have recovered. The statement was technical, but in simpler terms, it meant that a small configuration mistake caused the massive breakdown of one of the world's most critical infrastructures. At first glance, that might sound trivial. One misconfiguration shouldn't cause global chaos. But when it comes to systems as complex as Azure, even a single line of incorrect code or a mistyped command can trigger a chain reaction. Azure's infrastructure consists of millions of interconnected servers, data centers, and routing paths that must operate in perfect sync. One untested deployment or a skipped validation step can lead to catastrophic downtime. According to outage trackers, more than 50,000 complaints were logged in the United States alone within the first 2 hours. Europe saw over 20,000, while Asia reported thousands more. Ironically, the disruption occurred during what was supposed to be a routine maintenance update, a normal system upgrade meant to improve network reliability. Due to a propagation error, however, the faulty configuration was rolled out globally instead of being limited to a test region. Several IT professionals on LinkedIn and X pointed out that even large tech companies occasionally bypass standard change management testing procedures to deploy updates faster. These shortcuts, while saving time in the short term, can lead to disasters like today's outage. One cybersecurity researcher wrote, "Speed kills, especially in production environments. This is why proper testing and rollback planning are non-negotiable." For many, today's outage raised an even deeper question. What happens when too much of the world relies on a handful of companies to keep the internet alive? Over the last decade, the shift to cloud computing has centralized global data in the hands of a few giants. Microsoft, Amazon, and Google now collectively power the majority of business applications, websites, and AI systems. That convenience comes with a hidden risk. When a failure occurs at the top, everyone else feels it instantly. This outage wasn't just about lost productivity or delayed emails. It served as a reminder that the cloud, often marketed as the safest and most reliable solution, isn't invincible. For smaller businesses, even a few hours of downtime can mean thousands of dollars in lost revenue. For airlines, it can delay flights and affect thousands of passengers. For hospitals and logistics companies, it can disrupt operations that depend on real-time access to cloud-based systems. Throughout the day, Microsoft engineers worked around the clock to restore full functionality. By late evening Eastern Time, most major services, including Microsoft 365 and Outlook, had returned to normal. However, Xbox Live and some Azure-dependent third-party applications continued to experience slow responses. Microsoft assured users that the issue was resolved and that additional safeguards would be implemented to prevent similar outages in the future. Analysts believe that incidents like this will continue to happen as cloud infrastructure becomes even more complex. Each layer of automation and AI-based optimization adds convenience, but also new points of failure. As one analyst noted, "We've built the digital world on systems that are both powerful and fragile. A single glitch can now touch billions of lives." Financial experts are also analyzing the potential impact. While Microsoft's stock initially dipped slightly after the outage news broke, investors appeared confident that the company's reputation would recover. Still, some businesses may consider diversifying their cloud strategies, using multiple providers to avoid total dependency on one platform. Meanwhile, end users, the everyday people who just wanted to send an email or join a video meeting, experienced firsthand how interconnected their digital lives have become. For most, it was an inconvenience. For others, it was a moment of realization. Almost everything we do online depends on invisible systems that can fail without warning. As night fell in the US and services gradually returned to normal, one thing became clear. Today's outage will likely be studied in IT classrooms and cybersecurity seminars for years to come. It highlighted both the strength and the fragility of modern technology, a reminder that even the biggest tech giants, with all their resources, are not immune to simple human or system errors. The Microsoft Azure outage of 2025 will be remembered not just as a technical failure, but as a defining moment that exposed how dependent the modern world has become on digital infrastructure. It will force engineers, policymakers, and